Avatar 3 has finally hit theaters and immediately set the internet on fire. And it's not just the usual hype surrounding James Cameron's epic. Critics are almost unanimous in their verdict. This is the weakest entry in the trilogy. But is it really that bad? That's exactly what we're going to figure out over the next few minutes. And in the second half of the video, we'll talk about the future of the franchise and the ending, which now feels far more predictable. So get comfortable. Let's begin. First, it's worth remembering that Avatar has never been about a complex or intricate plot. It's a fairly straightforward and predictable story about duty, family, love, and choice, all set against the breathtaking world of Pandora. After the first film came out, many people pointed out that Cameron was essentially retelling Pocahontas, just moving the story to another planet. And to be fair, the director never really denied it. The true strength of Avatar was never the story. It was the visual revolution. The script was written back in the early 90s, but the technology simply didn't exist to bring it to life. It wasn't until The Lord of the Rings and Andy Serkis's groundbreaking performance as Gollum that Cameron realized the moment had finally arrived. As a result, the story was simple, but the visuals turned Avatar into a global phenomenon. People went to see it multiple times, and that massive wow factor led to record-breaking box office numbers and essentially unlimited budgets for future sequels. The second film took 13 years to arrive. It also crossed the $2 billion mark, but even then it was clear that the story wasn't really moving forward. Yes, the visuals were stunning, and the underwater sequences were mesmerizing, but visuals alone were no longer enough. Critics rated the sequel lower than the original. As of now, the third film is the lowest-rated entry in the entire series. It also earned less than its predecessors during opening weekend. With a production and marketing budget nearing $800 million, the movie needs at least $1 billion just to break even. Still, few doubt that it will eventually reach that milestone. The Flame and the Ash remains one of the most beautiful and technologically advanced films of our time. In that regard, there's little to complain about. However, there's no major visual leap forward compared to the second movie. That's why many critics talk about the lack of a true wow effect, and why Pandora sometimes feels almost too clean, even slightly cartoonish. After watching the film, it's hard to fully agree with that criticism. This is a movie that absolutely demands a big screen, otherwise it loses a significant part of its impact. The new locations, creatures, and the Ash Clan all look impressive, and the action feels bigger, darker, and more aggressive. No, there's no visual revolution here, but honestly, it's hard to imagine what could have been done better. Cameron delivers exactly what you'd expect, one of the most visually stunning cinematic experiences of recent years. Where the criticism truly hits home is in the repetition. Even from the trailers, it was clear we'd be getting a familiar story with the same characters and the same central conflict. There were hopes for a shocking twist that would completely reshape the franchise. But without spoilers, let's just say you'll probably predict the ending within the first half hour. Still, this doesn't ruin the overall experience. It would be strange to walk into an Avatar movie expecting a tangled, mind-bending narrative in the vein of Christopher Nolan. The franchise stays true to itself, a clear, linear story that continues the established arc and slowly moves it toward a conclusion. That said, there is one major development that changes the rules of the universe, but we'll talk about that a bit later to avoid spoilers for those who haven't seen the film yet. As for the new characters, the antagonists from the Mong Quan tribe genuinely stand out. Their leader, Varong, played by Una Chaplin, is arguably the most well-written villain in the entire franchise. Her motivations are clear, and she's compelling to watch, even if her storyline loses some momentum toward the end. Where The Flame and the Ash truly shines is in its action. The scale is massive. The number of characters, creatures, vehicles, aerial battles, ground combat, explosions, and fire. Cameron squeezes every last drop out of the budget. The increased use of first-person shots adds even more intensity, turning the film into a full-on cinematic ride. So the conclusion is simple. Avatar 3 is far from a failure. Critics may be searching for deeper drama, complex metaphors, and modern social commentary, but Avatar has always been, first and foremost, the story of the Sully family, told against the backdrop of a stunning alien world. And these are exactly the kinds of movies movie theaters were made for.
Judging by audience scores, the third installment is very much in sync with its viewers. And whether The Flame and the Ash worked for you, or whether it's time to finally bring the franchise to an end, let us know in the comments. And now, let's move on to breaking down the ending and that very plot twist that changes everything.